Yes, people, I am back once again with another video. Now today I have a very interesting story, but before we get into that, I would like to give a public service announcement from Zombie about something that is very urgent. Now, as you are probably aware, and are also probably involved in, Pokemon Go is sweeping the nation. People are finally going outside and walking around after being locked in their basements for 10 years or more, doing nothing productive and just sitting in the dark. Even the laziest are motivated to be the very best and find the rarest Pokemon, even though they only run into Pidgeys and Rattatas. While Pokemon Go may be the best thing for physical activity of all time, there are a couple things that I must warn you about before you go out and try to catch them all. To start, the beef between teams is actually legit. Like, every other team except the one you are on is ripped to shreds, and you are ripped to shreds if you are not on the other person's team. It is absolutely insane, the beef that goes on. Like, this is legitimately the biggest beef in gangs since the Crips and the Bloods. I am not even joking. And to make it worse, they just throw in a third team just to fuck it up even more. Anyway, besides major turf wars, the other problem with Pokemon Go is people will lure you to places, and if you're alone, you better be careful. In short, if you see this van, there are no rare Pokemon inside, and you should walk the other direction and maybe call the authorities. Anyway, the bottom line here is, if you're trying to catch them all and be the very best, just be safe out there, because you might just run into the wrong direction, and that would be very bad, and I would feel awful. So that was my public service announcement for you guys. So let's get into the actual story that is at hand today. So this story is back when I was a young boy, and I was just an upcoming freshman in high school. So at the time when I was going into high school, I heard a few things about it, some good, some bad, but there's one thing I do remember very distinctly that I was always told. It's that the geometry teacher who I would have to have was like terrible, like the worst teacher in the whole school. So I was kind of concerned going in, and I was kind of wondering what it would be like. But then I would think, like, I've heard that so much about many other teachers, and they turned out to either be decent or, like, you know, a little below average, but nothing unbearable or nothing all that bad. So for the first 3 weeks, we had a sub for this class, so I didn't really get to meet the teacher until 3 weeks in. However, I was told at lunch, like, every day by, like, the juniors and seniors who I sat with that, yo, this is, like, a rite of passage, and, like, she's, like, terrible, and, like, you're gonna be in for a surprise and all that crap. So 3 weeks in, she finally comes in, and she starts talking, and deadass, I kid you not, this is what she sounds like.
Hello, class, and welcome. I hope you had a nice summer break. However, now it is time to get back to work. I hope you've been keeping up with your Algebra 1, but now it is time to go into geometry.
So that is her fucking voice. Now, if that isn't weird enough, I kid you not, I was looking around the room for, like, some speakers and looking on her collar for a fucking microphone. She talked so loud, it was crazy. Like, to this day, when I'm in that wing of the school, I can be 3 to 4 classrooms over and still hear her teach perfectly fine and hear the lesson perfectly fine. She is loud as hell. Now, I would be okay with that, and, you know, I got used to her volume eventually, and you just kind of ignored it, and I got used to her voice eventually. She said therefore a lot, and there'd be people who'd counter therefores, but, you know, all that's fine. But what pissed me off was her grading and, like, how strict she was. And, like, she cared too much about everything. For instance, she gave us an Olympics project, which was in itself stupid because it was like 66% research and like 30% math. But the first part, she lets us handwrite. And then when we handwrite it, she gives us a 40-minute lecture on handwriting. So basically, we go in the room, we sit down, and this is what we hear for the next 40 minutes.
Now, I gave you guys the option to handwrite your projects. However, your handwriting is sloppy. I told you to do neat handwriting. Do you see this? That's a carrot. Now, is that neat? You couldn't have just written a new sentence? Come on, guys. This is a project. This is not scratch work. And is that erased completely? Make sure when you're using pencil, you have to erase everything completely, or else it's just sloppy.
Deadass, a 40-minute lecture about bullshit like that. Not even that she couldn't read the handwriting, but bullshit like that. And to make matters worse, not only did she give us those nonsense lectures, but she would take points off of quizzes, tests, and homeworks for stupid shit. For instance, I remember we had a test on transformations of figures, and we had one question that said we had to move the figure from an initial point to another point and then to a final point. Now keep in mind, she says on a daily basis, about maybe 3 to 5 times a class, show all work, show all work, show all work, or you're gonna give me points. So right before this problem, she tells us that We don't need to draw all three figures, however we need to show the work for all three figures. Only the starting point and the end point needed to be drawn, not the middle. However, being good students that we are, just about everyone in the class drew all three because, we're showing all the work. Now this teacher takes 2 points off of everyone in the class, not even because the second figure was wrong, but because she said, I didn't need it. 2 points because she didn't need something, even though everyone went above and beyond. And another thing about her class is she has so many pet peeves. So one of them is that she doesn't like backpacks in the aisle. So my friend was just kind of minding his own business. He had his feet on his backpack, and one of the other kids in the class just went around him minding their own business, and no one really cared. Until she saw. So she says to my friend, how rude of you to just have your feet in the middle of the aisle. What is this, the beach? And then the person who walked over him said, look, it's not that big of a deal. She gets up, glares at him. Oh, but it is a big deal. And let me be honest, it wasn't a big deal. It was so minor, it was crazy, but, it just has to happen because, she's her. Anyway, I'm finally out of that class that I've been for a couple years, thank God. And I must say, all the other math teachers I've had after her have been just absolutely spectacular and have just been some of the best teachers who I've had. If you enjoyed the story about my geometry teacher and my experience as a freshman, please like the video and comment on what you think it would be like to have this teacher. And as always, have a fantastic day.